Hi guys, let's continue with the 35th UPSC 2020 Prelims test series from Vision IAS. Now we have question number 51. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. Formation of dew is more likely to take place on a cloudy night due to high humidity. Number 2, radiation fog forms during winters as cooling of the ground leads to saturation of the air. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is B. The correct answer is B, that is 2 only. So only statement 2 is correct. Statement 1 is not correct. Cloudy nights are less likely to experience dew formation of the Earth's surface because radiation cooling is reduced. Wind will also reduce the chance of dew formation as it reduces the humidity, and therefore the dew point of the air in contact with the ground. Statement 2 is correct. Radiation fog is a very common type of fog throughout the United States. It is most prevalent during the fall and winter. It forms overnight as the air near the ground cools and stabilizes. When this cooling causes the air to reach saturation, fog will form. Radiation fog forms when all solar energy exits the Earth and allows the temperature to meet up with the dew point. The best condition to have radiation fog is when it has rained the previous night. This helps to moisten up the soil and create higher dew points. This makes it easier for the air to become saturated and form fog. However, the winds must be light, less than 15 miles per hour, to prevent moist and dry from mixing. So statement 2 is correct. Now let's come to question number 52. Which of the following commissions were related to reforms in education in India? Number 1, Raleigh Commission 1902. Number 2, Sadler Commission 1917. Number 3, Hunter Commission 1883. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is A. The correct answer is A, that is 1, 2 and 3. So all the 3 statements are correct. Lord Curzon was in favor of the centralization and bureaucratization not only in administration but also in education. He appointed an education commission under the chairmanship of Sir Thomas Raleigh in 1902. There were only 2 Indian members in it, Gurudas Banerjee and Syed Hussain Bilgrami. The commission submitted its report the same year. Lord Curzon passed the Indian University Act on the basis of the recommendations of this commission in 1904. To bring out improvement in higher education, an annual grant of 5 lakh rupees was the only useful provision of this act. Hence option 1 is correct. Under the chairmanship of Dr. M.E. Sadler, in 1917, a commission was appointed. It included 2 Indians, Dr. Ziauddin Ahmed and Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee. The problem of Calcutta University was the primary concern of it, but it reviewed the entire field of education from the school to the university stage. Hence, option 2 is correct. The Hunter Commission of 1882 was appointed by the then Governor-General of India, Lord Ripon, on 3rd February 1882. Presided by Sir William Hunter, an Indian civil service officer and a member of the Executive Council of the Viceroy. Its main objectives were to consider different aspects of education in India, paying particular attention to primary education and inquire into the execution of Wood's Dispatch of 1854 and suggest ways to improve outcomes of the same. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to question number 53. Joint Monitoring Program Report and Annual Report produced by the World Health Organization and UNICEF deals with Statement A. Assessing the progress in reduction of undernourished children across the world. Number B. Assessing the progress in reducing inequalities in household drinking water, sanitation and hygiene, that is WASH. Number C. Measuring the decline in child mortality in least developed countries. Number D. Assessing the decline in preventable pneumonia and diarrhea deaths among children in developing countries. So the correct answer is B. The correct answer is B. The joint WHO and UNICEF Joint Monitoring Program is affiliated to UN Water and was established in 1990. It builds on the earlier monitoring activities carried out by WHO since the 1960s. The JMP's objectives are to provide regular global reports on drinking water and sanitation coverage to facilitate sector planning and management, to support countries in their efforts to improve their monitoring systems, and to provide information for advocacy. The World Health Organization, that is WHO, and United Nations Children's Fund, that is UNICEF, Joint Monitoring Program for Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, JMP, produces internationally comparable estimates of progress on drinking water, sanitation and hygiene, WASH, and is responsible for global monitoring of the Sustainable Development Goals, that is SDG, targets related to WASH. This report assesses program in reducing inequalities in household wash services and identifies the populations most at risk of being left behind. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 54. Oxokul Glacier, that was officially declared dead recently, is situated in which one of the following countries? Number A, Sweden. Number B, Russia. Number C, Iceland. Number D, Norway. So the correct answer is C. The correct answer is C, that is Iceland. The Oxokul Glacier was officially declared dead by the Icelandic Meteorological Office when it was no longer thick enough to move. The people attending the ceremony walked up the volcano northeast of the capital, Reykjavik, to lay a plaque that carries a letter to the future. The plaque reads, Oxokul is the first Icelandic glacier to lose its status as a glacier. In the next 200 years, all our main glaciers are expected to follow the same path. This monument is to acknowledge that we know what is happening and what needs to be done. Only you know if we did it. The plaque is also leveled 415 ppm carbon dioxide, referring to the record level of carbon dioxide measured in the atmosphere last May 2019. Iceland loses about 11 billion tons of ice per year, and scientists fear that all of the Iceland country's 400 plus glaciers will be gone by 2200. Now let's come to question number 55. Consider the following statements in the context of Repco Bank. Statement 1. It was established with the purpose of promoting the rehabilitation activities for repatriates from neighboring countries, mainly from Sri Lanka and Myanmar. Statement 2. The area of operation of the bank covers the South Indian states only. Number 3. The bank is under the administrative control of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct statement is D. The correct statement is D, that is 1, 2, and 3. So all the statements are correct. Repatriates Cooperative Finance and Development Bank Limited, Repco Bank, was registered as a cooperative society under the relevant provisions of the Madras Cooperative Societies Act 1961 for the purpose of promoting the rehabilitation activities for repatriates from neighboring countries, mainly from Sri Lanka and Myanmar. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Later, the bank is deemed to be registered under the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act 2002. The area of operation of the bank covers the South Indian states only, like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, and the Union Territory of Puducherry. Hence, statement 2 is correct. On the recommendation of Government of India, the RBI under Section 7, Clause 1 of Banking Regulation Act 1949 permitted this institution to use the word bank. The bank is under the administrative control of FFR Division, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 56. Consider the following statements with reference to mangrove forest. Statement 1. Mangrove forests are spread across all coastal states of India, including Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Number 2. The area under mangrove forest is under a steady decline. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is A. That is 1 only. So only statement 1 is correct. The mangrove forest is halophytic vegetation found in intertidal tropical, subtropical regions between latitudes 24° north to 38° south. These diverse group of plants exhibit varied morphological and physiological adaptations in order to survive the harsh physical environment in spite of these reasons, receiving 1,000 to 3,000 mm of annual rainfall at a temperature regime between 26 to 35 degrees Celsius. The limiting factors include lack of oxygen, high salinity, and diurnal tidal inundation. The adaptations include succulent leaves, sunken stomata, aerial breathing roots called pneumatophores, higher cellular salt concentration, vivipary support structures like stilt roots and buttresses, etc. Mangroves are mostly distributed over 123 countries and territories in the tropical and subtropical region of the world. Asia has the largest amount of the world's mangrove. Mangroves in India are spread across 4,975 square kilometers, which is nearly 3.3% of the world's mangrove vegetation and 0.15% of the country's total geographical area. Mangrove vegetation has been reported across all coastal states of India, including Andaman and Nicobar. Hence, statement 1 is correct. According to FSI 2019, assessment, there has been a net increase of 54 square kilometer of mangrove forest in the country compared to 2017 assessment. Also, over the past decade, the area under mangroves has been an almost steady increase. So it has seen an almost steady increase from 4,581 square kilometer in 2005 to 4,975 square kilometer in 2019. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. The complex root system facilitates the accumulation of organic detritus and inorganic nutrients, thus acting as a breeding and nursing ground for various marine and pelagic species. They act as an important source of livelihood for the coastal communities dependent on the collection of honey, tannies, wax, and fishing. Mangroves also act as a zone of land accretion due to trapping of fine sediments and thereby arresting coastal erosion. They protect coastal areas from storm surges and tsunamis. Their protective role has been widely recognized, especially after the deadly tsunami of 2004. Mangroves are therefore considered as most productive wetlands, but they are increasingly threatened by biotic pressure, changing land use patterns, and natural calamities. It is therefore imperative to regularly assess and monitor the mangroves for designing appropriate conservation strategies. Remote sensing using multi-temporal satellite imagery in tandem with geographical information system has provided an efficient technological means of regular monitoring of mangrove ecosystems. Now let's come to question number 57. Consider the following statements about the taxation system in the Vijayanagara Empire. Number 1. There was a complete absence of taxes on any industry. Number 2. Merchant guilds and craft guilds had the right to levy taxes on common people. Number 3. Taxes were the same for both the rich and poor farmers. Number 4. No tax was levied on foreign traders to encourage foreign trade and commerce. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is C. That is 2 only. So only statement 2 is correct. Statement 1 is not correct. There was a defined system of taxation on industries in the Vijayanagar kingdom. Several industries were monopolized while several others were left open for all. The industries were levied taxes according to the production and demand for the goods. One of the best available examples is the tax on oil pressing industries. The oil crushing industry was subjected to a number of taxes levied by the state. Epigraphs of the period refer to the taxes levied on the oil mill known as Ganashidhya. It was also a practice that even oil mill was required to bear an official stamp, and for offering this stamp the government collected a tax. Statement 2 is correct. As an ancient Karnataka, even during the period of Vijayanagar, guilds continued to play an important role in the commercial life of the people and towns. They were nothing but the assemblies of merchants of the town. It was a free and voluntary association of individuals. During the Vijayanagar period, there were guilds of various professionals such as Goldsmiths Guild, Weavers Guild, Cloth Dyers Guild, Oil Millers Guild, Potters Guild, Cobblers Guild, Barbers Guild, and Washermen Guild, etc. It appears that there were at least 18 such guilds in the empire. The craftsmen as well as the mercantile groups in medieval South India were organized in corporations. Economically, they were very sound. They used to give loans on interest to their respective members. These guilds played an important role in the commercial life of the capital city. As they had close contact with different people, they played an important role in the administration of the local area. They derived income from different sources such as contributions from the members, profit from the banking operations, participation in the tax forming system, and income from the corporate property. These different guilds were representative in character and safeguarded the interest of the local people. Even the officials of the state never interfered with the rights of these guild assemblies. The prosperity of the guilds encouraged them to make liberal grants to temples, and they also constructed tanks. The Patanaswami was the head of the mercantile community of a town. He levied and collected the revenues at the time of fairs, and during the market days he collected tax from different shops and from merchants. The guilds enjoyed certain powers to levy local taxes, and they spent the collected taxes for some good purpose. Statement 3 is not correct. The system of progressive taxation perhaps owes its origin to Emperor Krishna Deva Raya of Vijayanagar, who maintained that taxes should not be levied at flat rates, and the amount of tax levied must depend on the income of the farmer. The taxation system was quite progressive. On the goods which were not luxury and equally used by all communities, the tax levied was the same, while for luxury goods the taxes were greater for rich classes but lower for poor classes. Statement 4 is not correct. The Vijayanagar Empire, for the first time in medieval times, developed good contacts with foreign merchants like Portuguese and Arab. Barbosa, in his account, has made a good narration of the foreign trade, how it passed from the hands of Muslims to the Portuguese. With the coming of Portuguese towards the close of the 15th century, this monopoly of the Muslim traders was broken. Even during the time of Prodha Devaraya, till about the commencement of the 16th century, the horse trade was largely in the hands of Muslim traders. Bhatkal, Honavara, Mangalore, and Goa were the important harbors or ports at that time. The Hormuz ships were coming to Bhatkal with horses and pearls. Other imports were elephants, copper, coral, mercury, vermilion, China silk, and velvet. Elephants were imported from Ceylon and silk from China. Taxes were collected from foreign merchants, which was also a source of income to the state. Articles like cloth, rice, iron, saltpeter, sugar, and spices were exported to Portugal. Some of the important port towns were Ankola, Calicut, Basrur, Barakur, and Mangalore. Food grains were exported to Maldives Islands, Ormuz, and Aden. Iron ore was purchased by the Portuguese. Sugar was exported to Ormuz. Ships came from Mecca to Bhatkal for spices. Foreign trade was also there with Malacca, Pegu, and Sumatra. Thus, foreign trade attracted a large number of merchants, both Indians and foreign merchants, to purchase their required materials from the Vijayanagar market. Foreign trade greatly enriched the Vijayanagar city. Now let's come to question number 58. Which of the following statements in the context of liquidity coverage ratio is or are correct? Statement 1. The LCR is the proportion of high quality liquid assets set aside to meet short-term obligations. Statement 2. It was introduced by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision as a part of the post-2007 global financial crisis reforms. Statement 3. NBFCs, both deposit taking and non-deposit taking, are brought under the LCR requirement. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is D, that is 1, 2 and 3. So all the statements are correct. In the backdrop of the global financial crisis that started in 2007, the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision BCBS proposed certain reforms to strengthen global capital and liquidity regulations with the objective of promoting a more resilient banking sector. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Liquidity coverage ratio LCR promotes the short-term resilience of banks to potential liquidity disruptions by ensuring that they have sufficient high-quality liquid assets HQLAs to survive an acute stress scenario lasting for 30 days. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The stock of high-quality liquid assets HQLAs or total net cash outflow over the next 30 calendar days greater than or equal to 100%. Minimum LCR in January 1st, 2015 was 60. In January 1st, 2016, okay, the first one was January 1st, 2015. It was 60%. And January 1st, 2016, it was 70%. January 1st, 2017, it's 80%. January 1st, 2018, it's 90%. And the minimum LCR for January 1st, 2019, it's 100%. Banks should, however, strive to achieve a higher ratio than the minimum prescribed above as an effort towards better liquidity risk management. With effect from January 1st, 2019, that is after the phase-in arrangement are complete, the LCR should be minimum 100%. But on the background of pandemic COVID-19, RBI has reduced the liquidity coverage ratio LCR requirement for banks to 80% from 100% with immediate effect as a relief of these lenders. The LCR requirement will gradually be restored back in two phases, 90% by October 1st, 2020 and 100% by April 1st, 2021. RBI has mandated non-deposit taking NBFCs with an asset size of rupees 10,000 crore and all deposit taking NBFCs irrespective of the asset size to maintain a liquidity buffer in terms of liquidity coverage ratio LCR from December 1st, 2020. Hence, statement 3 is correct. So all the statements 1, 2 and 3 are correct. Now let's come to question number 59. A scanning electron microscope SEM uses focused beams of electrons to render high-resolution three-dimensional images. SAM has applications in which of the following areas? Number 1, agriculture. Number 2, testing new vaccinations and medicines. Number 3, microchip production. Number 4, criminal and forensic investigations. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is D. That is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So all of them are correct. A scanning electron microscope (SEM) uses focused beam of electrons to render high-resolution three-dimensional images. These images provide information on topography, morphology, and composition. SEMs use a beam of electrons rather than a beam of light. An electron source located at the top of the microscope emits a beam of highly concentrated electrons. Within the fields of industrial application and research, there is an increasing focus on quality control at microscopic scales. Achieving high-resolution imagery with a scanning electron microscope can provide insight into many fields, making SEMs indispensable tools across many fields. Scanning electron microscopes, that is SEMs, are used across a number of industrial, commercial, and research applications, from cutting-edge fabrication processes to forensic applications. There's a diverse range of practical applications for the modern SAM, that is scanning electron microscopes. Applications of scanning electron microscope, that is SAM. SAMs are used in materials science for research, quality control, and failure analysis. In modern material science, investigations into nanotubes and nanofibers, high-temperature superconductors, mesoporous architectures, and alloy strength all rely heavily on the use of SAMs for research and investigation. The reliable performance of semiconductors requires accurate topographical information. The high-resolution three-dimensional images produced by SAMs offers a speedy, accurate measurement of the composition of the semiconductor. Microchip production is increasingly relying on SAMs to help gain insight into the effectiveness of new production and fabrication methods. With smaller and smaller scales and materials, as well as the potential of complex self-assembling polymers, the high resolution, the three-dimensional capacity of SAMs is invaluable to microchip design and production. As the Internet of Things (IoT) becomes more prevalent in the day-to-day lives of consumers and manufacturers, SAMs will continue to play an important role in the design of low-cost, low-power chipsets for non-traditional computers and network devices. Hence, option 3 is correct. Criminal and other forensic investigations utilize SAMs to uncover evidence and gain further forensic insight. Uses include analysis of gunshot residue, jewelry examination, bullet marking comparison, handwriting, and print analysis, examination of banknote authenticity, paint particle and fiber analysis, filament bulb analysis in traffic incidents, etc. Since SAMs offer the ability to examine a wide range of materials at high and low magnification without sacrificing depth of focus, their use in forensic sciences makes it possible to draw conclusions, identify material origins, and contribute to a body of evidence in criminal and legal matters. Hence, option 4 is correct. In biological sciences, SAMs can be used in anything from insects and animal tissue to bacteria and viruses. Uses include measuring the effect of climate change of species, identifying new bacteria and virulent strains in vaccination testing, uncovering new species, and work within the field of genetics. Hence, option 2 is correct. Geological sampling using a scanning electron microscope can determine the weathering processes and morphology of the samples. Backscattered electron imaging can be used to identify compositional differences, while the composition of elements can be provided by microanalysis. Valid uses include soil quality measurement for farming and agriculture, identification of tools and early human artifacts, etc. Hence, option 1 is correct. So all the 4 statements are correct. Now let's come to question number 60. Which of the following patterns of water circulation are observed in the global ocean conveyor belt? Statement 1. Cold water sinks to the bottom near the North Pole. Number 2. Surface warm water is transported from the equator towards the North Pole. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is C, that is, both the statements 1 and 2 are correct. The ocean is not a still body of water. There is constant motion in the ocean in the form of a global ocean conveyor belt. This motion is caused by a combination of thermohaline currents. Thermo means temperature, haline means salinity. So this motion is caused by a combination of thermohaline currents in the deep ocean and wind-driven currents on the surface. Cold, salty water is dense and sinks to the bottom of the ocean, while warm water is less dense and remains on the surface. The ocean conveyor gets its start in the Norwegian Sea, where warm water from the Gulf Stream heats the atmosphere in the cold northern latitudes. This loss of heat to the atmosphere makes the water cooler and denser, causing it to sink to the bottom of the ocean. This happens near the North Pole. As more warm water is transported north from the equator, the cooler water sinks and moves south to make room for the incoming warm water. This cold bottom water flows south of the equator all the way down to Antarctica. Eventually, the cold bottom waters return to the surface through mixing and wind-driven upwelling, continuing the conveyor belt that encircles the globe. Hence, both the statements are correct. Now let's come to question number 61. Which of the following features are common between the British and Indian constitutions? Number 1, rule of law. Number 2, written constitution. Number 3, the federal structure of the polity. Number 4, parliamentary form of the government. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is D. That is 1 and 4 only. So only 1 and 4. 4 are correct. Unlike most modern states, Britain does not have a codified constitution but an unwritten one formed of Acts of Parliament, court judgments, and conventions. The conventions are unwritten rules of constitutional practice, vital to the working of the government. The very existence of the office of Prime Minister of UK is purely conventional. The Constitution of India is the lengthiest of all the written constitution of the world. It not only the fundamental principles of governance but also detailed administrative provisions. So it does not only have the fundamental principles of governance but also the detailed administrative provisions. The provisions of the parliamentary system of government, that is the rule of law, law-making procedure, and single citizenship were borrowed from the British Constitution. The concept of rule of law is that the state is governed not by the ruler or the nominated representatives of the people, but by the law. The rule of law concept is written both in the UK and India. The Constitution of India has opted for the British parliamentary system of government. It is a system of governance where the executive is accountable to the legislature. The United Kingdom is a parliamentary democracy with a constitutional monarch. A king or queen is the head of state, and a prime minister is the head of government. The UK is a parliamentary democracy. The UK Parliament is a sovereign parliament. This means that the legislative body has absolute sovereignty. The UK has a unitary system of government, meaning a system where power is held in the centre, although some powers have been devolved to Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, whereas the Constitution of India established a federal system of government with unitary bias. Amending the Constitution in India is a combination of rigid and flexible process. It can be amended by a simple majority, special majority, or ratification by more than half of the states. In UK Constitution, amending procedure is flexible. Due to its unwritten character, it can be easily amended or repealed by a simple majority. No distinction is made between constitutional law and ordinary law. Both are treated alike. So the correct option is D, that is 1 and 4 only. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 62. Which of the following is common to Dharwar, Aravali, Singhbhum, and Bastar? Number A, they are the geologically stable portions of the Indian subcontinent and form the major cratons. Number B, they are regions of wet deciduous forest. Number C, they are major bituminous coal-producing regions of India. Number D, they are the only regions in the subcontinent which have rift valleys. The correct answer is A. So the correct answer is A. That is, they are the geologically stable portions of the Indian subcontinent and form the major cratons. Craton, the stable interior portion of a continent, characteristically composed of ancient crystalline basement rock. The term craton is used to distinguish such regions from mobile geosynclinal. So the term craton is used to distinguish such regions from mobile geosynclinal troughs, which are linear belts of sediment accumulations subject to subsidence. The extensive central cratons of continents may consist of both shields and platforms. A shield is that part of a craton in which usually Precambrian basement rocks crop out extensively at the surface. By contrast, in a platform, the basement is overlain by horizontal or subhorizontal sediments. The Indian subcontinent has a geological history spanning from the Oarchean period to the recent period, assembling crustal blocks of various ages at different times along major orogenic. Okay, so the Indian subcontinent has a geological history spanning from the Oarchean period to the recent period, and assembling crustal blocks of various ages at different times along major orogenic belts. The basement rocks of the Indian Peninsular Shield are dominantly composed of granites and granitic gneiss. The exposed Precambrian basement comprises four major cratons, namely the Dharwar, Aravali, Singhbhum, and Bastar. They are the four archean nuclei of India. Now let's come to question number 62. What is helicopter money often seen in the news? Statement A. Option A. It refers to the delayed tax paid by foreign companies after tax evasion is taken into account. Number B. It is the unplanned borrowing money from abroad by the government at nominal interest rates. Number C. It refers to an unorthodox monetary stimulus strategy to spur inflation and economic output. Number D. It is the situation in which the revenue income of a government in a given financial year is more than the estimated amount. The correct answer is C. It refers to an unorthodox monetary stimulus strategy to spur inflation and economic output. Helicopter money is a theoretical and unorthodox monetary policy tool that central banks use to stimulate economies. Economist Milton Friedman introduced a framework for helicopter money in 1969, but former Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke popularized it in 2002. This policy should theoretically be used in a low interest rate environment when an economy growth remains weak. Helicopter money involves the central bank or central government supplying large amounts of money to the public as if the money was being distributed or scattered from a helicopter. Contrary to the concept of using helicopter money, central banks use quantitative easing to increase the money supply and low interest rates by purchasing government or other financial securities from the market to spark economic growth. Unlike with helicopter money, which involves the distribution of printed money to the public, central banks use quantitative easing to create money and then purchase assets using the printed money. QE does not have a direct impact on the public, while helicopter money is made directly available to consumers to increase consumer spending. Hence, option C is the correct answer. Now let's come to question number 64. Which of the following is or are the applications of recombinant DNA technology? Number 1. Synthesis of human insulin. Number 2, insect-resistant crops. Number 3, diagnostics test for hepatitis and HIV. Number 4, environmental cleaning. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is D. That is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So all of them are correct. Recombinant DNA or rDNA molecules. So recombinant DNA or rDNA molecules are DNA molecules formed by laboratory methods of genetic recombination. That is, molecules of DNA from two different species that are inserted into a host organism to produce new genetic combinations that are of value to science and medicine, agriculture and industry. Applications of recombinant DNA or rDNA. Number 1. Through recombinant DNA techniques, bacteria have been created that are capable of synthesizing human insulin, human growth hormone, alpha interferon, hepatitis B vaccine, and other medically useful substances. Hence, option 1 is correct. Number 2. Recombinant DNA technology also can be used for gene therapy, in which a normal gene is introduced into an individual's genome in order to repair a mutation that causes a genetic disease. Number 3. The ability to obtain specific DNA clones using recombinant DNA technology has also made it possible to add the DNA of one organism to the genome of another. The added gene is called a transgene, which can be passed to progeny as a new component of the genome. The resulting organism carrying the transgene is called a transgenic organism or a genetically modified organism, that is GMO. In this way, a designer organism is made that contains some specific change required for an experiment in basic genetics or for improvement of some commercial strain. Number 5. Genetically transformed plants which contain foreign genes are called transgenic plants. Resistance to diseases, insects and pests, herbicides, drought, metal toxicity tolerance, induction of male sterility for plant breeding purpose, and improvement of quality can be achieved through this recombinant DNA technology. Bt cotton, resistant to bollworm, is a glaring example. Hence, option 2 is correct. Next application would be recombinant DNA technology has provided a broad range of tools to help physicians in the diagnosis of diseases. Most of these involve the construction of probes, short segments of single-stranded DNA attached to a radioactive or fluorescent marker. Such probes are now used for the identification of infectious agents, for instance, food poisoning, salmonella, hepatitis virus, HIV, etc. Hence, option C is correct. Next application we have. In industries, recombinant DNA technology will help in the production of chemical compounds of commercial importance, improvement of existing fermentation processes, and production of proteins from waste and production of proteins from waste. This can be achieved by developing more efficient strains of microorganisms, especially developed microorganisms may be used even to clean up the pollutants. Hence, option 4 is correct. So, the option D, that is 1, 2, 3, and 4, is the right answer. Question number 65. With reference to modern Indian history, the South Borough Committee was appointed to number A. Inquire into and investigate the disturbances in Bombay, Delhi, and Punjab after 1919 protest. Number B. Delineate the balance of power between center and provinces. Number C. Work out the details of the post-World War I package of constitutional reforms. Number D. Recommend the annulation of the partition of Bengal. The correct answer is C. That is, work out the details of the post-World War I package of constitutional reforms. Post-1916, Lucknow Pact. Many demands were put before the submission of the Indian Franchise Committee, known as the South Borough Committee after its German South Borough. This committee, along with the Committee on the Division of Functions, was appointed to work out the details of the post-war package of constitutional reforms known as the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. These a crucial piece of evidence. The proceedings of the South Borough Committee has been completely overlooked in the major literature on the Lucknow Pact and its significance. The 7-member South Borough Committee had 3 Indian members, that is Surendranath Banerjee, V.S. Srinivasa Sastry, and Sahibzada Aftab Ahmed Khan. The first 2 had been present at the Lucknow session of the Congress, and Banerjee had spoken on the resolution regarding the pact. The committee toured India from November 1918 till February 1818 and met provincial governors and their executive councillors, and received written submissions and examined official and non-official witnesses. Now let's come to question number 66. Consider the following statements with reference to the velocity of money. Statement 1. It is a measure of the rate at which money is exchanged in an economy. Number 2. If a nation has a higher GDP than another, then the velocity of money in its economy is also higher. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is A. That is 1 only. So only statement 1 is correct. The velocity of money is important for measuring the rate at which money in circulation is being used for purchasing goods and services. It is used to help economists and investors gauge the health and vitality of an economy. High money velocity is usually associated with a health expanding economy. Okay, so the high money velocity is usually associated with a healthy, expanding economy. Low money velocity is usually associated with recessions and contractions. The velocity of money is a metric calculated by economists. It shows the rate at which money is being transacted for goods and services in an economy. Hence, statement 1 is correct. While it is not necessarily a key economic indicator, it can be followed alongside other key indicators that help determine economic health like GDP, unemployment, and inflation. GDP and the money supply are the 2 components of the velocity of money formula. A slightly less exact relationship between the velocity of money and GDP of a nation is as follows. The velocity of money is equals to GDP by money supply. Thus, if along with the GDP the money supply is also high, then it is not necessary that the velocity of money will also be high. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Economies that exhibit a higher velocity of money relative to others tend to be more developed. The velocity of money is also known to fluctuate with business cycles. When an economy is in an expansion, consumers and businesses tend to more readily spend money, causing the velocity of money to increase. When an economy is contracting, consumers and businesses are usually more reluctant to spend and the velocity of money is lower. Hence, the velocity of money is typically correlated with business cycles. It can also be correlated with key indicators. Therefore, the velocity of money will usually rise with GDP and inflation. Alternatively, it is usually expected to fall when key economic indicators like GDP and inflation are falling in a contracting economy. So the correct answer is A, that is 1 only. Now let's come to question number 67. Consider the following pairs. On one side we have portals, on the other side their purpose. Number 1, E.B. Cray. So it would be E.B. Cray. It is an online auction of attached assets by banks. Number 2, Bharat Kosh, one-stop platform for tax payments to the governments. Number 3, Santusht, platform to address grievances related to public services. Which of the pairs given above is or are correctly matched? So the correct answer is A. The correct answer is A, that is 1 only. E.B. Cray, it's an online auction of attached assets by banks. The Government of India recently launched E.B. Cray, an e-auction platform to enable online auction of attached assets by banks. Hence, pair 1 is correctly matched. The E.B. Cray platform provides navigational links to all PSB e-auction sites, property search features, and presents single-window access to information on properties up for e-auction, comparison of similar properties, and also contains videos and photographs of the uploaded properties. The purpose of this portal is to enhance user experience through seamless access to information by the search based on the type and location of the property put up for e-auction by the Banks of India. Next, we have Bharat Kosh. The non-tax receipt portal, NTRP, or Bharat Kosh portal, is the initiative of Controller General of Accounts, Ministry of Finance, Government of India, to provide one-step services to deposit any fees or fine or other money into the government account. Hence, pair 2 is not correctly matched. The portal provides a one-stop platform to citizens or corporates or other users for making online payment of non-tax receipts to the Government of India. Next, we have Santusht. The Ministry of Labour and Employment has launched the Santusht portal to monitor the implementation of labour laws at the grassroots level. Hence, pair 3 is not correctly matched. So the correct answer is A, that is 1 only. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 68. Which of the following events may lead to the dissolution of the Council of Ministers? Number 1, if the annual union budget is rejected by the Lok Sabha. Number 2, if the Prime Minister resigns from his office. Number 3, if no confidence motion is passed by Lok Sabha. Number 4, if Lok Sabha passes censure motion. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is C, that is 1, 2, 3. So the statements 1, 2 and 3 are correct. Article 74 deals with the status of the Council of Ministers, while Article 75 deals with the appointment, tenure, responsibility, qualification, oath and salaries and allowances of the ministers. The fundamental principle underlying the working of the parliamentary system of government is the principle of collective responsibility. Article 75 clearly states that the Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister stands at the head of the Council of Ministers, and the other ministers cannot function when the Prime Minister resigns or dies. In other words, the resignation or death of an incumbent Prime Minister automatically dissolves the Council of Ministers and thereby generates a vacuum. Censure motion moved against an individual minister is or a group of ministers or the entire Council of Ministers to censure for specific policies and actions. If it is passed in the Lok Sabha, the Council of Ministers need not resign from the office. Article 75 of the Constitution says that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. It means that the ministry stays in the office so long as it enjoys the confidence of the majority of the members of the Lok Sabha. In other words, the Lok Sabha can remove the ministry from office by passing a no confidence motion. The motion needs the support of 50 members to be admitted. The Constitution refers to the budget as the annual financial statement. The budget is a statement of the estimated receipts and expenditure of the Government of India in a financial year. If the budget is not passed under any condition in Parliament, then it can be understood that the ruling party is in minority. Technically, it means the government has lost a confidence vote in the Lok Sabha and it has to resign. If the budget is not passed, it is apparent that the government does not enjoy a majority. And facing this situation, the government may resign. If it does not, the opposition will ask for the no confidence motion, in which case the government will have to resign. So the correct answer is C, that is 1, 2 and 3 only. Now let's come to question number 69. Consider the following statements with reference to the Index of Industrial Production (IIP), which indicates the growth of various sectors in the Indian economy. Statement 1. It is released by the Central Statistics Office. Number 2. The current base year of IIP is 2011-12. Number 3. In the index, the weightage of the mining sector is greater than that of the manufacturing sector. Which of the statements given above are correct? The correct answer is A. That is 1 and 2 only. So only statement 1 and 2 are correct. Index of Industrial Production, that is IIP, is an index that helps us understand the growth of various sectors in the Indian economy, such as mining, electricity, and manufacturing. Mining, it contains 61 items, 14.16% weight. Number 2, manufacturing, 620 items, 75.53% weight. Electricity, it contains 1 item, 10.32% weight. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. IIP is a short-term indicator of industrial growth until the results from the Annual Survey of Industries, that is ASI, and National Accounts Statistics, that example GDP, are available. The base year of the index is given a value of 100. The current base year for the IIP series in India is 2011-12. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Index of Industrial Production IIP is released by the Central Statistics Office, that is CSO, of the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation on a monthly basis. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The index is used by government agencies and departments such as the Finance Ministry and the RBI for policy making. It is also used for estimating the gross value added of the manufacturing sector on a quarterly basis. In addition, the index is also used by business analysts, financial experts, and the private industry for multiple purposes. It is the only measure of the physical value of production. The 8 core industries of India represent about 40% of the weight of items that are included in the IIP. The following are the core industries and their weightage in the IIP. So the first core industry would be coal, and its weight is 10.33, electricity 19.85, crude oil 8.98, cement 5.37, natural gas 6.88, steel 17.92, then refinery products 28.04, then fertilizers 2.63. Now let's come to question number 70. Which of the following are the harmful effects of fly ash? Statement 1. Air pollution leading to negative impacts on human health. Number 2. Bioaccumulation of heavy metals in plants and animals. Number 3. High radiation pollution. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is D. That is 1, 2, and 3. So all the statements are correct. The first statement is air pollution leading to negative impacts on human health. Number 2, bioaccumulation of heavy metals in plants and animals. And number 3, high radiation pollution. So all of them are correct. Fly ash is a byproduct of burning pulverized coal in electric generation power plants. Fly ash is a pozzolan, a substance containing aluminous and siliceous material that forms cement in the presence of water. When mixed with lime and water, fly ash forms a compound similar to Portland cement. This makes fly ash suitable as a prime material in blended cement, mosaic tiles, and hollow blocks, among other building materials. When used in concrete mixes, fly ash improves the strength and segregation of the concrete and makes it easier to pump. Now let's come to health and environmental hazards. Fly ash contains traces of toxic substances like arsenic, cadmium, mercury, lead, beryllium, boron, chromium, manganese, selenium, strontium, thallium, and vanadium, along with dioxins and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon compounds. They are minute poisonous particles accumulate in the respiratory tract and cause gradual poisoning. Next point. The fly ash is mixed with water and pumped into huge ash tanks. The heavy metals that get into the water get leached into the groundwater, and they end up contaminating the surface water and get into the food chain. The water is used for drinking by the people and the cattle. Contaminated grass is again consumed by the cattle and human consumed milk. Next point. The heavy metals, particularly mercury, which are ingested faster than they are excreted, get accumulated in living tissue in small amounts, acting like slow poison. The detection of high levels of mercury in some medicinal herbs collected from the Krishna River bed downstream the Prakasam barrage gives credence to the fears of the environmentalist. The bioaccumulation of mercury causes the Minamata disease. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Next point. Inhalation of or ingestion of the toxins in fly ash can have impacts on the nervous system, causing cognitive effects, causing cognitive defects, developmental delays, and behavioral problems, while also increasing a person's chance of developing lung disease, kidney disease, and gastrointestinal illness. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The fly ash emitted by a power plant, a byproduct from burning coal for electricity, carries into the surrounding environment 100 times more radiation than a nuclear power plant producing the same amount of energy. Coal contains trace amounts of radioactive elements like uranium and thorium, but when coal is burnt into fly ash, uranium and thorium are concentrated at up to 10 times their original levels. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now, let's come to question number 71. Who among the following notifies the elections to constitute a new Lok Sabha and State Legislative Assembly? Number A. Election Commission of India and State Election Commission. Number B. Election Commission of India in both the cases. Number C. President and Governor respectively. Number D. President in both the cases. The correct answer is C. That is President and Governor respectively. Lok Sabha is composed of representatives of the people chosen by direct election on the basis of adult suffrage. A legislative assembly is the lower house of a state legislature comprising the members elected directly by the people of the state through adult electoral suffrage. The Representation of the People Act 1951 is an act of Parliament of India to provide for the conduct of election of the Houses of Parliament and to the House or Houses of the Legislature of each state. The qualifications and disqualifications for membership of those houses, the corrupt practices and other offences at or in connection with such elections, and the decision of doubts and disputes arising out of or in connection with such elections. Under the Act, a general election shall be held for the purpose of constituting a new Lok Sabha on the expiration of the duration of the existing House or on its dissolution. The President shall, by notification published in the Gazette of India on such date or dates as may be recommended by the Election Commission, call upon the parliamentary constituencies to elect members in accordance with the provisions of this Act. A general election for the purpose of constituting a new legislative assembly is held on the expiration of the duration of existing assembly or on its dissolution. The governor or administrator, as the case may be, shall by notification published in the official gazette of the state on such dates as may be recommended by the election commission, call upon all assembly constituencies in the state to elect members in accordance with the provisions of this act. So the correct statement or the correct option is C. Now let's come to question number 72. Consider the following statements with reference to e-waste management rules in India. Statement 1. These rules do not apply to e-waste generated by micro-enterprises. Number 2. The State Pollution Control Board is given the responsibility to monitor the compliance of extended producer responsibility authorization in their respective states. Which of these statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is A. The correct answer is A, that is 1 only. So only statement 1 is correct. In exercise of the powers conferred by sections of the Environment Protection Act 1986, the government has notified the E-Waste Management Rules 2016. These rules shall apply to every manufacturer, producer, consumer, bulk consumer, collection centers, dealers, e-retailer, refurbisher, dismantler, and recycler involved in manufacture, sale, transfer, purchase, collection, storage, and processing of e-waste or electrical and electronic equipment listed in Schedule 1, including their components, consumables, parts, and spares, which make the product operational, but shall not apply to number 1. Used lead acid batteries as covered under the Batteries Management and Handling Rules 2001 made under the Act. Number 2. Micro enterprises as defined in the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006, 27 of 2006. Hence statement 1 is correct. Number 3. Radioactive waste as covered under the provisions of the Atomic Energy Act 1962, 33 of 1962 and rules made thereunder. Extended producer responsibility means the responsibility of any producer of electrical or electronic equipment for the channelization of e-waste to ensure environmentally sound management of such waste. Extended producer responsibility may comprise implementing the take-back system or setting up of collection centers or both, and having agreed arrangements with authorized dismantler or recycler, either individually or collectively through a producer responsibility organization recognized by producer or producers in their extended producer responsibility authorization. Initially, the concerned State Pollution Control Board were given the responsibility to monitor the compliance of extended producer responsibility authorization, take cognizance of any non-compliance and inform Central Pollution Control Board for taking action as necessary. But later, the Central Pollution Control Board CPCB has been given the extended producer responsibility, that is EPR authorization, under the new e-waste rules, diverting it from the state pollution boards. The Committee on E-Waste Management had earlier noted that poor performance in the submission of annual returns by state pollution control boards (SPCBs) has been derailing the entire process of collecting information and monitoring implementation of the e-waste rules in an effective manner. Accordingly, in the amended new e-waste rules 2016, the EPR authorization has been made Central Pollution Control Board's responsibility with pan-India implementation, diverting from the responsibility of SPCBs, thus reducing the load of SPCB's significance. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Now let's come to question number 73. Consider the following statements. Number 1. There were both transferable and non-transferable land rights under the Mughal state, but Maratha state had only non-transferable land rights. Statement 2. In Mughal territories, there was one unified civilian and military bureaucracy, while in Maratha territories, civilian and military bureaucracy was separate. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is B, that is 2 only. So only statement 2 is correct. Now let's come to Mughal administration. The Mughal Empire has been described as a war state in its core. It sought to develop a centralized administrative system whose vitality depended ultimately on its military power. The emperor stood at the apex of this structure, his authority resting primarily on his military might. Below him, the other most important element in this structure was the military aristocracy in the form of Mansabdari system. Every aristocrat was called a Mansabdar with a dual numerical rank, Jat and Sawar Jat, signifying his personal rank, and Sawar, the number of horsemen he was required to maintain. This dual numerical rank also indicated the position of a particular nobleman in the overall Mughal bureaucracy. Sometimes they were paid in cash, but most often they were paid in the form of a jagir or landed estate, the estimated revenue income of which would cover his personal salary and the maintenance allowance for his soldiers and horses. There were two types of jagir in Mughal state. Number 1, transferable or tankha jagir, and number 2, non-transferable or vatan jagir. Now let's come to Maratha administration. The Maratha state could not become an alternative to the Mughal Empire because of its own structure. Number 1, the nature of that of a confederacy where power was shared among the chiefs or sardars like the Bhonsles of Nagpur, Gaikwad of Baroda, Holkar of Indore, or Sindhya of Gwalior, all of whom had made their fortunes as military leaders since the days of Shahu. Point number 2. Parts of the Maratha state had been alienated to these military commanders, and it was difficult to control these chiefs, who did not like the Peshwa regulating their activities. What resulted soon was increasing factional rivalry among the Maratha Sardars, and although there was always a strong center, the composition of the inner circle of power changed from generation to generation. Point number 3. At the lower level, there was the existence of heritable Vatan rights, like those of the village headmen, Mirasidars, and Deshmukh, which could not be taken away by kings. The regional assemblies of Watandars exercised political power and resolved disputes at a local level, thus representing local loyalties as opposed to any centralized concept of kinship. Point 4. The Maratha state, in order to establish its control over the territory and consolidate the power base of its new ruling class, sought to peripheralize the regional assemblies in the 17th and early 18th centuries. It tried to replace the horizontal ethos of brotherhood of the Watandars with the vertical relationship of service by generously distributing among its clients temporary and transferable land rights or saranjam that resembled Mughal Zagir. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. Point number 5. The only difference was that in the Maratha territories there were many civilian revenue collectors, namely Brahmins, who did not move on to military command, as was the custom in the Mughal system where there was only one unified civilian or military bureaucracy. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 74. Lithium triangle comprises which of the following nations? Number A, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. Number B, Guatemala, Honduras and El Salvador. Number C, Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa. Number D, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. The correct answer is A. So the correct answer is A. That is Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. Lithium, which powers our phones, laptops, and electric cars, is essential to our battery-driven world. While lithium has been found on each of the 6 inhabited continents, that is Chile, Argentina, and Bolivia, together referred to as the lithium triangular. Together referred to as the lithium triangle, hold more than 75% of the world's supply beneath their salt flats. The lithium triangle is one of the driest places on Earth, which complicates the process of lithium extraction. Hence, option A is the correct answer. India is in the process of setting up large lithium-ion battery plants. The lithium triangle countries have offered to meet India's growing demand. Recently, a high-level delegation of Niti Aayog visited these countries to get a better understanding of the availability of the lithium, possibilities of joint ventures, as well as the incentives offered by the governments of these countries. So the correct answer is option A. Now let's come to question number 75. Consider the following pairs. We have festivals on the one side, on the other side we have the tribes who celebrate them. The first one is Baneshwar, Kokana. Number 2, Baishagu, Bhil. Number 3, Bohadda, Borough. Number 4, Sanken, Khamtis. Which of the pairs given above is or are correctly matched? The correct answer is C. That is 4 only. So only the 4th pair is correct. Baneshwar Festival. This is celebrated in the month of January and February by the people of the Bhil tribes living in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat, among others, at the confluence of the Mahi and Som rivers. So we have Baneshwar would be Bhil. The festival sees the worship of Mahadev, that is Shiva, as well as Kalki, that is Vishnu, from ritualistic singing of praises of the gods to gravity defying acts. This festival displays the very magic of a colorful Rajasthan. Next, we have Baishagu. This festival is celebrated in Assam with much pomp and enthusiasm. This festival is commonly celebrated by the tribe of Borough Kacharis of Assam, and it is the famous festival of the Boros. So Baisagu would be Boros. Famous for its myriad colors and merriment, the Boros celebrate it as a springtime festival at the advent of the new year. In this festival of Baisagu, many traditional musical instruments are used, such musical instruments are kaubang, jotha, gogona, sifung, kham, etc. At the end of the Baisagu festival, Assamese people gather together in a specified place for a community prayer, which is called Garja Sali in the Assamese language. Now let's come to the next festival, that is Bohada. The Kokna are a major tribe found in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Rajasthan, Dadra and Nagar Haveli. So for Bohada, it would be Kokana. According to anthropologists, the ancestors of the Kokana tribe were the primary inhabitants of the Konkan region, and it is from their ancient dialects that the present-day Konkani language has evolved. The Koknas are known for making musk, bamboo, wooden craft, brass and copper motifs. Kokna artists can craft ordinary wooden tobacco containers into beautiful works of art. The tribe celebrates Bohada, the famous festival of Mask, which is a combination of dance and drama celebrated during March and April. Various facial expressions are intricately highlighted in the mask. The last festival would be Sangken. The Sangken is the festival of the Khamtis. So the Sangken, it would be Khamtis. Khamtis reside in the plains of Lohit district. They are the Buddhists of the Theravada school, the Burmese variety, and still follow the Burmese calendar. It is an occasion to give a bath to the images of Lord Buddha ceremoniously. The festival is celebrated every year in the month of April to welcome the beginning of the new year. The main attraction of the festival is the prayerful pouring of clean water on the statues of Lord Buddha placed at several places by each and everyone on the routine basis. Hence only pair 4 is correctly matched. So the first festival, that is Baneshwar, it would be Bhil tribe. Number 2, Besagu, it would be Borough tribe. Then for Bohada, it should be Kokana tribe. Then for Sangken, it would be Khamtis. So the correct answer is option C, that is 4 only. So that's all guys. See you in my next video. Bye.